Hello, and welcome back to the Bleacher Preacher podcast. At the end of free agency, Rob, we have a Kawhi decision. He is going to be a Clipper. The Los Angeles Clippers landed a big-time free agent, dude. What year is it?
It's the year 2019 because in every other year, no big free agent signing has gone to the Clippers. Not sure how this happened, but it happened. It's surprising to say the least that he chose the Clippers over making a super team with the Lakers.
What I'm finding the most mind-blowing is how people were writing off the Clippers. The Lakers were the shoo-in favorite. And then there was buzz of, was there going to be another mystery team? Would Kawhi consider going back to Toronto? And then late Friday night, he decides to go to the Clippers. And he's bringing Paul George with him.
That was
LA. Whew.
That was the biggest of surprises. Just late, not last night, late, a couple of days ago, it was like 11 o'clock, the news broke that Kawhi chose the Clippers, and I was like, yeah, okay, Clippers. I guess he didn't want to go to LA, or you want to go to LA with the Lakers, they want to play with Bron, make a super team with Anthony Davis and them. I guess he's going to get his own team, but then the news comes out that the Clippers have acquired Paul George for a historic package of first-round picks, as long as with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari. And then news later comes out that Kawhi's been recruiting Paul George the whole offseason, leading, the Lakers astray and ultimately getting the Clippers to acquire Paul George and signing with the Clippers. I think Paul George going to the Clippers is the reason why Kawhi signed with the Clippers. I'm pretty sure he gave the Clippers the ultimatum, hey, if you guys don't get a second starter to come play with me, I'm going to take my talents elsewhere. I really think it was between Toronto and LA, the Lakers, and with them, the Clippers acquiring Paul George, it gave them the lane, gave them what they needed to actually go out and get Kawhi.
And I think that was the biggest surprise is the Clippers pulled the trigger on the trade package to bring in Paul George. What was surprising is what the Clippers were okay with parting with. We're talking the foreseeable future in draft picks, a piece in SGA that me and you really like. We think he could be a really good player in the NBA. And then Danilo Gallinari's expiring contract. So all that to bring in a top 15 player in Paul George, and looking at the rest of the Clippers now, Kawhi, PG, Pat Beverly, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. That's not a bad core to have right now.
No, not at all. I think with the first round picks, it's not all doom and gloom. So they gave up their 22, 24, and 26 first round picks, as well as a couple of pick swaps. So, and with the Stippian rule, you're not allowed to take or trade first round picks in back-to-back years, which is why they gave up 22, 24, and 26. And then they traded away a first-round pick in 21 and a first-round pick in 23 that wasn't there. So they still have their 2020 pick, they still have their 2021 pick, and they still have their 2023 pick. So it's not that they went fully in and they have no first-round picks for the next 6 years. They do have first-round picks. They have next year's first-round picks as well. And next year, the 2020 pick, them not giving that up, also gives them a 2020 first-round pick that they can dangle and acquire another guy if they need to. Now, if you look at the starting lineup with Shamet and Patrick Beverly, and then go with the forwards, Kawhi, Paul George, and at center probably Zubac, that's a really good starting five. But not only that, they didn't have to gut the team as what the Lakers did to get Anthony Davis. They didn't have to gut the team to get Paul George. They still have Lou Will, who we've seen him come off the bench and drop 50, sixth man of the year. They still have Montrezl Harrell, who is one of the, gritty, just hardworking guys. He's one of the guys that you want on your team. They got guys like Mo Harkless who can hit a three, can play 3-and-D. There's still a deep team, and they're positioned to pretty much, in the long term, just go out there and they might be the team to beat in the West.
What I think, though, is not getting enough credit is that, like you said, with gutting the team, this is a stable this is going to sound weird. This is a stable organization now. Like, they're set up not only to compete this year, but probably for the next 3 to 5 years if all goes well. I believe Kawhi signed for 4 years, and at this point in his career, I would foresee him wanting to stay home in Los Angeles. So this is a good start for the Clippers. They're going to be in the title picture because that's going to lead us to our next point is this Kawhi decision has completely flattened the NBA landscape. It's now the age of dynamic duos to where I think for the first time since before this Warriors run, the title's up for grabs. Or we can even put it before LeBron's Miami runs too, is who's legitimately winning the title this year.
Yeah, it's very, very up for grabs. Brooklyn, with Kyrie, but KD out for a year. So Brooklyn might not even be a top 4 seed. I think Indiana's still good. Philly, Boston, Milwaukee. I think Toronto is at least still makes some noise in the East. Those are your players. And, I can conceivably see one of those 6 teams actually winning the East and coming out there. I'm sure Philly and Boston are probably your 2 top-tier guys. And then, out west, Houston, the Clippers, the Lakers, Golden State, even if Golden State gets healthy, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and D'Angelo Russell, it's still 4 really, really good players, 4 all-stars. The team that I think is in trouble and might make a big splash and might shake up the landscape even more is OKC. We don't know what's going to happen for Westbrook, but right now, if I had to put money on it, the Clippers are probably my team coming out of the West. I like them that much.
We also have to give credit to having one of the better coaches in Doc Rivers. Looking to what he was able to do with last year's underwhelming team on paper, but night in, night out, they were competing, and then they get into the playoffs, and they were, let's call it what it is, they were a tough out for the Warriors and essentially wore them down to when the Warriors did eventually run out of gas. So this is a good team even before getting these 2 superstars, and now we have to say the Clippers are contenders. But
yeah,
I was going to say, let's go across the hallway in Staples now. What does this mean for the Lakers now that they struck out on Kawhi after they pretty much rode him into the team?
Struck out on Kawhi, had to spend money elsewhere, and they brought in Boogie, which that's depending on what happens and if Boogie is actually fully 100% healthy from the Achilles injury is a good sign. Reuniting Boogie with Anthony Davis and LeBron and Kuzma, that's really, really, really solid front line. But then bringing in Danny Green because they desperately need shooting. Those are their only really new players. They had to bring back JaVale McGee. They had to bring back KCP. They had to bring back Rondo. They had to bring back Caruso. These are the guys they had to bring back because they waited the whole free agency on Kawhi and only Kawhi. It's not like they targeted Kawhi and Kyrie and Kemba and KD. They focused their sights on Kawhi and they ultimately struck out and they were left bargain bin shopping, bottom of the barrel. And I'd hate to say Danny Green and Boogie were bottom of the barrels, but Danny Green and Boogie really didn't have suitors out there. Danny Green had Toronto and had Dallas and could have went to the Clippers and joined Kawhi. Boogie really didn't have anybody out there. It's that's what happens when you try to get all your chips in one basket, and when you don't pull through, you're left in a rush and trying to figure out what to do. And now looking at this Lakers team, LeBron's probably going to be the starting point guard. They start LeBron, Danny Green, Kuzma, Boogie, and AD. That's a lot of players that occupy the same spot. Boogie and AD occupy the same spot. LeBron occupies the same spot. And now you're playing LeBron on ball all the time, which I don't know if you want to do. You kind of want LeBron to not the reason you get Anthony Davis is not just so LeBron can be healthy for the playoffs and not have to do everything. And with him having to probably start at point, that's him trying to do everything. Danny Green's probably the best shooter on that team. Danny Green's gone cold a couple of times in the playoffs that we've seen. Him being the only viable threat from the three-point line is going to hurt them a lot. We saw what happened last year. They really didn't have any shooting. Had to bring back KCP. I hate KCP. I feel like his basketball IQ isn't where he would be to bring back Rondo. I like Rondo. Rondo will be good for them. Again, no shooting there. It's not really a lot of shooting there. I don't know where they're going to get shooting from. I don't know how they're going to spread the floor. I just think they shrink the floor the bad way. They pack the floor in. And I don't know how this team is actually going to look like.
And that's what I think the weirdest thing is, that this is almost a copy paste from last offseason, to where after they filled out the rosters with, as you perfectly put it, these bottom of the barrel guys, veteran free agent signings, these guys have very limited upside. And I think the biggest knock is health. We saw Boogie struggle to maintain his conditioning, and he looked broken down towards the end. And yes, was he probably playing hurt? Yeah. But who knows how healthy he's going to be during a full 82-81 game season. And then now putting full-time ball handler duties on 35-year-old LeBron with almost 60,000 minutes on his legs already. And then now you're going to be running more through Anthony Davis, and he's been known to be a little bit fragile at times. They signed Rajon Rondo, who, again, doesn't stay healthy. This, for as well as it could go good for them, it can go just as bad for the Laker fans, if not worse. Because this is a very thin team that's relying a lot on guys that already have a lot of miles on them. And they're built around a game that might not suit today's NBA. This is not a very fast or a very good shooting team.
Yeah, they've gone bigger, and they've gone, with less shooting, less. Yeah, it's not how you would want to build a team, in my opinion. But that's, what more can you do? All the shooters got signed up. What today is NBA is 3-and-D, spread the floor, guys like that, right? And all those guys got signed late in the first couple of minutes of free agency officially. So they did good with what they had, but they really should have had a better plan of attack.
And I don't know if you can put the blame on Kawhi in this regard. I mean, it was his decision, free agency, and he never promised or owed the Lakers anything to this point, but it's almost shame on them for putting a lot of their eggs in this basket. And I get, again, another one you put perfectly is gutting the team for an Anthony Davis. Okay, that makes sense for the short term, but there was no follow-up plan to it after that was completed, and now a lot of pressure is going to be on the two superstars and the leftovers.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough season. I don't think I think there's a lot of hype, and I think they'll be a good team. I think they're a number 4 seed. I think they get home field advantage, but it's not the super team world beaters that they could have possibly been after gutting the team to get Anthony Davis and then gutting the team again to open up space to Kawhi. I think it's going to be a tough season ahead. They'll still be a good team. They'll still may have some moments, and they'll win some playoff games, but I just don't see them as like an actual title contender. But then at the same time, I'm not going to bet against LeBron. We'll see. It's going to be a fun year coming up.
So let's go to the other team on the side of the Paul George trade, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They throw a big party for Paul George deciding to stay with the OKC Thunder after the Oladipo Paul George trade with Indiana. Some very frustrating moments in OKC. They had the potential to maybe contend a little bit more, but whether it be injuries or just inconsistencies, it just never fully came together where it needed to. This past season, we saw Paul George have moments where he was in the MVP talks, but unfortunately, injuries and performance did slow him down towards the end. And then, over the weekend, OKC decides we have to move on and cash out while we still can. So Oklahoma City now is left with Russell Westbrook, a bunch of first-round draft picks, and some expiring contracts. And now we're hearing the past couple of days that Westbrook's name has been mentioned in possible trade scenarios. So I'm going to put you in the GM seat for the Thunder, Rob. What do you do with Russell Westbrook, and where do you go from here?
I burn it down. I completely burn it down and sell off everything. Uh, Russell Westbrook, you're probably not going to get a lot back just because of how big of a contract and for how long he's here for the next 4 seasons. That's not a lot of people want that on the books. There's only a couple teams I would think we'd attempt. Would be like a Houston or a Miami that would attempt to acquire Westbrook, but you're not going to get the haul for Westbrook that you got for Paul George. I think Steven Adams is also a name that you could probably get some assets for, and I think Danilo Gallinari is definitely a person you get assets for. I think those two should be on the block. I think Russell Westbrook, if a good offer comes up, I think he's going to be the one that is probably going to get moved next. And man, it's tough. Everybody that comes into OKC ends up leaving.
Well, and now we're going to have to look at history here is James Harden. They moved on for him. Kevin Durant moved on from the franchise. Russell Westbrook was the one who stayed. He signed the big contract. He was, I'll be the one to never leave you guys. I'm going to make this work here. And now that they bring in Paul George and they eventually flip him and move on from having another superstar. So with Russell Westbrook and his tendencies now that he's going to be paid, north of $40 million for the next 3+ seasons, this is, like you said, Rob, it's a hard sell on any team, not only taking that money, but his history as being as ball dominant as he is and known as a player that breaks down over time. And he does have the knee history. He does have those nagging little injuries come up from time to time. And just from looking around the league, there's not too many teams that can necessarily absorb his contract and still be in a decent enough position. So I think the Thunder have to temper their expectations of what they can expect in return for Russell and where they can possibly move him. I know he's already been linked to Houston. Miami's name has bubbled up a little bit, but again, who knows what even is going to come from that. And then there's teams that are more towards the middle to the bottom that could probably bring him in, i.e. Minnesota, Cleveland can definitely afford him. But is he realistically going to want to accept a trade to just end up probably the 10th seed in his conference wherever he goes? I doubt it. I think he has too much pride for that. I think he's too much of a competitor to necessarily downgrade himself. So it's a tough spot to be in, but burning it down is the logical choice to go. And then hopefully you can find another potential dynasty through your draft picks, because I don't think we'll see another team bring in the elite level of talent like Oklahoma City has in the past 15 years and have one finals berth to show for it.
That's the toughest thing to swallow is you're going to blow this team up, and you had KD and Harden and Russell Westbrook, 3 people that have won MVPs, no championships. You had Serge Ibaka, who Defensive Player of the Year, good steal of a draft pick. You brought in, and then he leaves and he goes and wins the championship with Toronto. It's a tough pill to swallow to have that collection of talent on the team at one time and not being able to cash in one thing or another. And now something like, it's really tough. If you're an OKC fan, it's a very, very tough spot. I just don't know where they go from here. Like you're potentially looking at another 5 years of rebuilding, another 5 years without contending or a championship. It's they were a first round exit before this trade with Paul George. They're the first round exit after this trade. They keep the trade as it is, and I don't know if you just want to tread water. I think it's really just time to blow it up.
You think anybody would be willing to take $25 million a year on Steven Adams in this NBA?
Yeah, I think Boston could use him. I think a team like Houston could probably use him, but they do have Capella, so there's that. Steven Adams is still a solid player, a very, very good player. It's just he's making a little bit too much money for what he's actually going to bring you. If he was making $15 million a year, he's definitely somebody that's in high demand, but he's still useful, just in a limited role.
So let's just switch it up to some other news and notes from the past couple of days. How do you feel about the Knicks saying that they weren't going to create a meeting with Kawhi because they didn't want to essentially waste time on missing out on other free agents?
Well, I mean, they didn't. They could have been the Lakers and they missed out on all the free agents. But the thing is, they missed out on free agents anyway, so it wasn't really a win-win situation for the Knicks. I guess be happy with Taj Gibson and Julius Randle and who else did they get? And Bobby Portis. So I mean, sure, I guess, but the Knicks, man, they're in a tough. I hope the Knicks don't trade for Russell Westbrook. That'd be one of the Knicks things to do. That'll completely derail what they think is going to happen in New York, which is just go young and get more assets and at least try to become relevant. But if they just come out and they want to make a splash and they want to be the Knicks again and be the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, and they go ahead and just go out and get Russell Westbrook, I think it's going to be worse for them.
Another move that I thought that was sneaky but good for the team that actually was able to go through with it. The Spurs picking up Marcus Morris, spending the past couple seasons with the Celtics. That was a player I really liked watching play at both ends, and maybe he injects a little bit more fire into a Spurs lineup that's the past couple seasons been a little underwhelming and underperforming. So I like Marcus Morris on this Spurs team. I think he's a good complement for LaMarcus Aldridge. I just looking at the Spurs in general, they're still going to have to hope DeJounte Murray can come back and be a solid piece again, because missing out on him last year, I think, was a serious blow for them. There's still the possibility for a 6 or 7 seed out of this team, but I think Morris is a step in the right direction. But again, it's going to have to be a lot of work done on Pop's end.
Yeah, they're a team that's really kind of like in the mid-tier, in the middle of the pack. But Aldridge, DeMar, Marcus Morris, DeJounte coming back healthy, hopefully healthy, Lonnie Walker. There's guys there that, like Bryn Forbes, they traded Davenport on the way. Like, there's still guys there that is going to make them at least competitive. And, it's the Spurs. They'll be competitive until the end of days, and they'll still be a good team, and they'll still be a competitive franchise, a well-coached franchise. It's just they're just not in the top tier anymore.
Now, one thing I completely spaced my mind on, and I'm going to circle it back to this. Before Paul George was traded to the Clippers, apparently there was a deal to bring Westbrook and Paul George up to Toronto, but the Raptors didn't want to part with Pascal Siakam. So not knowing what else was going to be attached to that trade, and knowing that Siakam was probably going to be the big piece going back, and I know it's hard for a team coming off a finals win to have any regrets, but do you think the Raptors will regret not going through with that trade?
No, because they would have had the biggest luxury tax bill in the history of the league. They would have been paying $350 million in salary almost. So if I was a Raptors, I wouldn't have made that trade either. So banners will hang forever. They got the championship. Kawhi went home. Move on. Like, there's nothing for Toronto to be mad at. There's nothing Toronto could do more. I wouldn't have put my roster in cap hell just to keep Kawhi. And I'm hanging on to Pascal Siakam. I'm hanging on to OG Anunoby. I'm hanging on to all my first-round picks. Hanging on to Fred VanVleet. I wouldn't have made the trade.
So for the Raptors, they did today sign Stanley Johnson to fill in their hole at the 3. It's going to be
terrible.
Talk about getting us chance after chance. Stanley Johnson, man. Whew.
He's terrible.
There's a lot of promise coming out of U of A with him. But if you're the Raptors right now, your core minus Kawhi is not coming back this year. What can you realistically expect from them, assuming they make no other moves after today for next season?
I think Indiana is better. Celtics are better. Milwaukee's better. Philly's better. I think they'll be as competitive as Brooklyn, so fighting in that 4, 5, 6 range. I think they make the playoffs. I think they're a first round exit. Nothing more really than that.
And that would be my concern, though, is that they're heading towards that middle tier of not good, or excuse me, not great, not exactly good, just okay. Where the Pistons, the Magic have kind of been, meandering for the past 3-4 seasons.
Yeah.
Did I just call it reigning NBA champion the new Pistons?
Well, at least they're not the Pistons, so it's not all bad. It's just not all good.
Where do you think Andre Iguodala is going to end up?
I think he ends up on like a Houston or LA type of move. I think one of those guys probably ends up giving up, expiring contract and pick, something like that.
Why do the Dallas Mavericks only want to sign whites or Europeans?
Yeah, beats me. Maxi Kleber, JJ Barea, Luca, KP. Beats me, man. It's. I want to say it's a coincidence, but you never know. And
the team Dallas is paying Tim Hardaway Jr. $20 million a season, and then Courtney Lee $12 million this season, but yet signed Seth Curry for under $8 million a season.
A lot of money still there. I think they still have some cap room as well, so I expect them to be making moves.
Just looking at them, there's no overwhelming contracts on this team outside of KP's max deal, but it's not a bad situation for Dallas right now. I think they'll be all right if they can get another piece, but we have to see what KP is going to look like at the other end of this injury.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse than what they have. But it could be a lot worse. But they're set up for the future. With KP being as young as he is, yes, he's come back from knee surgery. Luka being as young as he is, they're fine. They're perfect.
How come? Question: how come the Bulls don't have any centers listed on their contracts page?
That's weird because we have Wendell Carter Jr., who we drafted in the first round, who is definitely a center. We have Daniel Gafford, who we just drafted in the second round, this draft, who's definitely 100% a center. And we still have Felicio, who's making a ton of money, who is 100% a center and not a power forward. So
the reason I asked is all three are listed as power forwards on this team.
Well, they might be listed as power forwards, but I can 100% tell you that they're not playing power forward.
Man. And just a Bulls question for you. How many more chances is Chris Dunn going to get after this year?
None. They already drafted his replacement, Kobe White, so they already re-signed Archie Diacono, who's going to be the backup point guard. They signed Thomas Satoransky. That's 3 point guards. Look for a Chris Dunn trade. Chris Dunn's probably going to get traded sooner rather than later.
There's so much promise surrounding Chris Dunn coming out of the draft, and unfortunately was just never able to live up to it. Mitch Kupchak's comments today saying that if Terry Rozier was in today's draft, he would have been a lottery pick.
Like Terry Rozier when he came out of college, or Terry Rozier right now?
Right now, if he was in the draft, he would be a lottery pick. So they're trying to say by selecting or signing Terry Rozier in free agency this year, the Hornets felt they got a lottery pick.
Yeah, but you're not paying lottery picks 3-year, $50 million. That's a difference from drafting somebody in the lottery and going out and getting Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is not costing you $50 million total over the next 3 years. So that's cool, I guess, but you're wrong. Mitch Kupchak.
I was going to say, Mitch Kupchak, he's given us plenty of laughs over the past 10 years, so it's only fair that he keeps up the good work, and we respect him and his good sense of humor, even though he's being dead serious. I don't exactly remember if we mentioned the Jamal Murray re-signing when we did our free agency breakdown. I think it happened I, I think it happened while we might have just finished up, but Jamal Murray got paid.
Yeah, it's a full max extension. I don't know if he's actually worth that much money, but when you're Denver, you kind of have to re-sign your best players. That's not a team that's going to go out and be, they're not going to be in the Kawhi sweepstakes. That's not going to happen. So, I mean, I guess they got their guy, and their guy staying in house, and sure, I mean, they could overpay somebody else if they really wanted to, but they kept their guy here. They kept their star. So
Staying on the topic
what
of
more do you want?
staying on the topic of the Nuggets, right at the start of summer league play, Michael Porter Jr. did unfortunately suffer another knee injury, and it's just one step back after another for this kid.
Yeah, I hope he gets healthy because he was a really good player, in high school. And he showed a lot of skills. And I hope he's 100% soon. And I hope he comes out and he gets a new lease on life. But his injuries, it's scary. Just having a career like this promising, maybe get cut short because of injuries. You hate to see that happen.
The Philadelphia 76ers and Ben Simmons are reportedly working towards a max deal. Ben Simmons is an exceptional point guard. He does have a very unique skill and build, but he is yet to develop the shooting aspect of his game. Is Ben Simmons worth max money in today's NBA? Yes, no, maybe so.
Ben Simmons is not worth max contract at all. Maybe if he can start hitting some free throws. I don't even hit threes. If he can start hitting some free throws, maybe then he's worth a max contract. But whatever. He's not going to re-sign for anything less than the max. So they had to give him the max. I wouldn't have given him the max. I mean, I need more. I need more from him. I hope he gets better. I hope he develops a jump shot, but I need more.
Well, with Philly already paying, two centers max money, they re-upped with Tobias Harris. Josh Richardson is making a good amount of money. If you decide to go all in with Ben Simmons here, you have to be sure of what you're getting and know they're still going to improve. And we haven't seen much from last year to this year as well. Or excuse me, last season, this past season.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no improvement. I don't like. He's the same player he's been since high school. There's literally been no improvement. So need more. I need more from Ben Simmons.
We like to make the joke that he's just afraid to shoot from the 3-point line, and the training videos, he's shooting in the gym, he's knocking them down, but when it comes game time, it just hasn't happened yet, and it's almost baffling at this point. Like, what is stopping him from actually trying this? Just kind of rounding out some notes that we also have down here. IT is back up with the Wizards. We're
Hope
still. It's an opportunity. He's definitely going to have a chance there, but we're hoping to see the return of Celtics IT.
Yeah, those days might be long gone, but hope he's healthy.
Just kind of searching through. I don't have too many other notes left, sir. Anything else you need to kick in? NBA?
NBA wise, not really. Just excited for the season start. Just waiting. I'm ready. I'm ready to watch some basketball. The NFL isn't back yet, and baseball is starting to get into its dog days of summer. So just excited to watch some basketball. Not being able to get to summer league just because of how crazy tickets would actually work kind of sucks. But hopefully we can go out and make it to one of these days in summer league and try to catch like a random game with a couple. I don't know. When Zion's not there anymore, I think tickets will probably be a little bit easier to get now.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video that, or a picture of the crowd of the next Pelican game after his first one in. The Pelicans decided to shut him down for summer league, let him get healthy and avoid another scare. Definitely empty out the arena a little bit, but some of these games out here in Los Angeles might have to be must-see come this fall and winter. Last point I want to make before we wrap this in: have you seen Far From Home yet?
No, I'm going this Tuesday.
All
This
right.
Tuesday.
Well, next episode will be we'll go over Far From Home storyline, spoilers, all that fun stuff. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Bleacher Preacher podcast. You can find us on any Apple Podcast app. We're also on Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Give us a listen, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It means a lot. Even leave us a review. You can follow the show on Twitter at Bleach Preach, or excuse me, on Twitter at Bleach Preach Pod. We're on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast. Myself, I'm at Jonathan_R. Rob
_BPP.
You'll usually get a good basketball take and maybe a good steak recipe here and there, and maybe a good retweet of a hell of a knockout or a hell of a filthy slider and everything else in between. Thank you again for tuning in, guys, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace.